Bachmann's original introduction of DCC-controlled lighted Mk2F coaches included a gangwayed driving brake that sold for the same price as the standard coaches at the time. With a number of different coach liveries delivered over the last 2 years, Bachmann have now introduced a number of refurbished DBSO models at a higher price point than the original. How did the new models fare versus their predecessor, and are they worth the increase in price? It's time to take a closer look. Hi, thanks for joining today's review. We'll kick off with a brief unboxing. We'll then take a detailed look at the lighting control, as this is the most complex of all of the DCC controlled lighted coaches from Bachmann, and we will go through each of the controls in detail so we can see what this model can actually do. We'll follow that with the normal close-ups, and then we'll get into a running session that looks at the DBSO running in either direction and also running in darker conditions. So it won't be the normal running session. We will actually look at it under a number of different conditions. Then get into our normal summary, scoring and final recommendation. Okay, let's get into the unboxing. Hi, so here we get to the unboxing. So we're looking at this DBSO from Bachmann. For reference, it's the 39735 DC for DCC. It's in the British Rail Intercity Swallow Livery. Now, as part of a reference here in this review, I'm also going to refer back to an earlier version of the DBSO that was available, the 39725 in the blue and grey Intercity livery. That was available a couple of years ago at a much lower price. So we're going to compare the two of these actually when we do the close-up views, and I'm going to ask the question, I guess, how come the new one is so much more expensive? So that's kind of probably going to be one of the themes of this review, really, is the pricing. So let me look at this guy first. Let's open him up and take a look out of the box. Now, we will be doing a full running session with this, so this will get a run out with a representative stock from equivalent DCC controlled lighted stock from Bachmann. So I do have 5 of those, and this would be number 6. So it comes with a detailing kit with some, looks like close couplers, some pipe work, etc. in there. So, and looks like an air dam. So that's okay. It comes in the kind of standard coach packaging, I guess, because that's kind of what it is. It's a fancy coach. Now let's take a look at this in general and say we will do the normal close-up views. And I guess it's the frontal view a lot of people want to get. It's interesting, got the little swallow symbol in there in the middle. I mean, the quality of these is good, for sure. I have, as I say, 5 of the existing DCC coaches that I purchased a few years ago, and you know, I have no complaints on the quality front. They are nice coaches, and I think the lighting is pretty good. A little bit bright perhaps, but it is certainly good, and I don't have any real problems with them. Now, this doesn't have the flasher, obviously. The other ones would have the facility for the flash, but you can see the plastics are obviously, there's a commonality which would make sense, because this was based on a brake coach, so they don't have the dip switch in there, so that's fine. It's got the kinematic couplers, as we might expect, and I suppose we might probably be removing this one at the end, and we'll keep the one at the other end. Just pick up on all wheels of both bogies, which is to be expected. And there's a good level usually of lighting control. So certainly from some of the other coaches, there was quite a bit of lighting control even within the coach, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. The glazing all looks really clean. The livery looks clean. So in general, my assessment on quality and detail is pretty good, and I'll say we will take a close-up look at this as well. And it has this very nice detail inside the coach. If you can just probably see the grille effects in there, which really does make a brake coach like this, you know, really look the business, and I do like that. So that's to be commended. Not awful lot of detail really in the cab area. Some basic control, but there really isn't a lot in there. And of course there's no driver either, but this is for a brake like this, I wouldn't be too pushed in terms of the driver being installed. So overall it does look like a nice looking coach, a nice looking driving brake, and so I don't really have a lot of complaints on the appearance front, and obviously it will match with all of the others. It does have the Intercity Swallow type branding on it, whereas some of the other coaches I have just the standard Intercity, which is it's got a different lettering, just different font. So we'll kind of see that in the running session. So let's just take a very quick look at the blue and grey version, and we will do close-ups of this as well, and in comparison. So we do the 360 view. I'll actually put both of them on together and we can take a look at the two of them together. So this came out a number of years ago, and I kind of covered it in a review I did at the time of these coaches. I have a link to that in the description, and I did kind of do a review of the overall range at the time. And so this was the driving brake in the blue-grey livery. And I guess some slight differences. The front is quite different, or the rear, if you want to call it that. Don't have, actually, interesting, they don't have sprung buffers for such an expensive coach. It's kind of unusual. It does have all the detailing, I guess, that the new one has. And the underbody is the same, as you can see. The switch removed. And it's got all that very nice kind of railing detail inside the body of the coach, and a nice interior for the seating area. It's got some additional detail here on the bogie, the rear bogie, if I call it that, which and it's on this one as well, actually. So it's on the two bogies, which you don't have on the other one, the Intercity Swallow version. But overall, it's the same. This is the same as this. Yet was quite a difference in price. I did call out at the time that I did feel this was particularly good value, because it was priced at the same price as the other coaches, which, when you think about it, was extraordinarily good value. But now they've obviously wised up and are charging significantly more. So we'll take a look at both of those together. And I did cover this in a previous review, so we can kind of refer back to that later on. Okay, so out of box, it's a very nice looking model, and I don't have any complaints. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the lighting control. So we've dimmed the lights here so we can see this a bit better, and we'll go through each of the controls. So F0 is the directional lighting, and in this mode we've got the DBSO actually operating in reverse. Here we've got the DBSO leading, so the locomotive is behind in a push mode. Go to the next one now, which is the cab lighting for the driver. And you've got F2 for the cab light, turns the cab light on and off, and that's individually controllable, which is pretty good. We've also got the guards area, which is controlled by F3, and you can see the detail in the guards area there as well. You can see the grille effect, and so it's a very nicely detailed interior. Now we're going to go to the rear of the coach, and we've got the passenger area, and you can see that being illuminated there. And that's similar to any of the standard Mk2F coaches from Bachmann. It's the same sort of illumination you'd see in the passenger area. And you also got the vestibule area at the end. And the other nice feature is F5 controls the interlock light there at the very end. And there's one of those on either side, on the A side and the B side. And this is actually on the B side. So that's not on most of the other coaches. So that's a nice additional feature here. Now we're going to get into the normal close-up view. So we'll start with one side A of the DBSO here, and you can see it's a well rendered livery. It's got a good quality coach, so it's a crisp finish on it, and all the glazing, all the interior detail, the underbody detail, all of the labeling and the paintwork are all done to a very good standard. So, and you can see the non-smoking stickers there on the glazing. So all in all, these are high quality coaches with a good level of detail, and you've got the door interlock light there that we saw previously that does illuminate, which is very nice to see, and nice grip rails on the roof there. And here now we switched to the B side to give you the look on the B side, and you can see some slightly different underbody detail there. And again, we're getting into the guards area, and you can see the really nicely detailed guards area in there. A lot of railings, a lot of grills, all sorts of stuff going on in there. So really nicely detailed. And overall, a very good job. Do the 360 view here, so a nice view of the gangway area there. Now the buffers are not sprung buffers, which is kind of surprising for a coach of this sort of price point. The passenger area actually has a nice level of detail as well, and that follows from all of the other DCC controlled coaches. They all do have nicely decorated passenger areas, which I think is important obviously because they are illuminated. And I guess the main gap when you illuminate a coach like this with a passenger area is passengers. So there probably is a debate as to whether passengers could have been pre-installed or not. But I'll maybe talk about that a little bit later. Now here is, we're running this side by side with the original driving brake in the blue-grey livery. So this was available at the original batches of coaches and was priced at the same price as the standard coaches. It does have the gangway in it. You can see it at the end there. So it's the older type of DBSO, whereas the new type of the refurbished versions. But more or less it has pretty well all the same features apart from the interlock light. Okay, now we're going to get into the running session. So this is going to be a slightly different running session to normal. We're just going to be running this under different lighting conditions with the driving trailer either leading or following. So it's leading here. So it's got the front directional lights on, as you can see, and we've got all of the other lights on just for reference. And we are running with the full rake of DCC controlled coaches here from Bachmann. So they're all matching. And they've all got a very good quality feel to them. Now the cost is another matter, but these are very nice coaches. We've got a Class 47 at the end there, so just please forgive that. I don't have a Class 86, which I would have liked to have run with this, but I don't actually have one. Now we're running in the dark, so you can see what the lighting looks like. And I think the notable factor here is there's no light bleed. And that's a common characteristic of all these coaches. They don't have any light bleed, which is really good. Which you'd expect for quality coaches like these. So now we're running with the locomotive running, leading. So we've got the rear directional lights on there now. And just gives you an idea what the lighting looks like in kind of normal illumination. And it is pretty bright. I think it's certainly more than satisfactory. So again, the locomotive is leading there. And we've turned the lights out, so all we can see now is the actual coach lighting. And we've got the DBSO coming up at the rear there, with the lighting in the driver's area, etc. And we'll get another look of it here coming from behind. So just to give you kind of a feel for what this actually looks like, and there we got the marker lights at the rear. And we'll see that again as we come around into the station here. And we've got really running in almost totally dark type of conditions here. There's only a monitor light on there. And again, we'll get another view of the lighting here as it goes past. And you can just see it there. You can see the detail in the guards area. And this is the last view before we finish up. And again, another view of the rear of this coach actually acting as a brake at the rear of the train. There we go. Now it does have the cab lights on there. Okay, so let's get into the summary. So first off, I'm going to take a look at the 4 different variants that are now available. This is the one we've just been looking at, which is in the Intercity livery. Also got a version in the Network Rail livery, and also one in the Anglia livery. The last one we have here, which is in the DRS livery, is only available to members of the Bachmann Collectors Club, so you won't see that from retailers. But they're the 4 variants that have been introduced by Bachmann as part of this most recent batch. Okay, let's get into the summary of capabilities now. So we've got the livery options, which we've just looked at. There is an accessory pack included with these models. They do come with all-wheel pickup for the purposes of powering the lighting. And they've got NEM coupling pockets, and they do come with the kinematic coupling mechanism for close coupling. Overall length is 270 millimeters, and the weight is 177 grams, which is on the heavy side, obviously, for a Mark II coach, but that's really driven by the various added capabilities that are in there, and things like the pickups and the DCC control and the lighting. So the lighting functions, you've got directional cab, you've got the guards area, you've got the passenger area, and you've got the door interlock lighting, which has separate lights, separately controllable on the A and B sides. And you've got DCC control of all of those, and there is an inbuilt DCC decoder out of the box. So you'll need to configure that and the address for that when you bring this onto your layout. Typical selling price for these is between $127.45, which is kind of a retailer type price, up to $149.95, which is the recommended retail price. And that's as of July 2022. So let's get into the scoring. So like all of the other coaches from Bachmann in this category, it's a 10 out of 10 in terms of performance. You will have noticed I had a little bit of foam holding the coach on the track for the photography, and that's because it just moves so freely. These are really freely moving coaches, despite the fact that they do have the pickups for power. So they're a 10 out of 10. I've had no problems with them in terms of derailment or any other sorts of issues. They run really smoothly, and so I'm giving a 10 out of 10 on a performance. Appearance and detail, again, I'm giving a 10 out of 10. These are, again, really good coaches from an appearance perspective. They do have a good alignment from a prototype perspective. So I think these are really, really nice coaches. Again, similar to the original DCC coaches, which I would have given a similar score to. Extras and variants, it's not quite a 10 out of 10. Don't have spring buffers, for example. And I think there is probably two other areas that I think would have made these absolutely complete. One would have been the inclusion of passengers, as I mentioned. And the other would be some level of control over the lighting intensity. So for some people, they may want to tone down the lighting a little bit. Other people may like to tune it up a little bit. And there is actually no way of doing that. Now, I know that's maybe asking a lot, but these are pricey coaches, they're premium coaches, and I think it's maybe something to be considered for the future. So that would have been a nice additive. So, but still, the lighting capability is the best you're absolutely going to get in terms of individual control of the different lighting features. So it's really, really good. The build quality and packaging, it is a 10 out of 10. The packaging is absolutely fine for this coach, given its weight. And I've never had an issue with these coaches. I've never had little bits falling off. There's nothing in the box. So I haven't had to return any of these coaches. So that's the good news. They've always worked really well. So I probably have maybe of the order of about 13, 14 of these coaches now from Bachmann. Just the standard DCC coaches. This is only my second driving brake, and again, the original of that was perfect as well. I had no issues with it. So build quality and packaging is being really good with these particular coaches, and I suppose you pay your money and you it does deliver the quality, and I've been very pleased with them. Price value, unfortunately, is not so good, and at £128, the kind of typical retailer price that you'll pay, I'm only scoring this as a 5 out of 10. Kind of gives you an idea of what the full recommended retail price would be, which would be like a 1 out of 10. So these are not good value, unfortunately. The original coach, which cost $79.95, and that seemed pretty high at the time, but I did think that was very good value because of the level of lighting capability that particular driving trailer had, the original blue-grey version that we looked at. And I would have scored that, at that sort of price, probably close to a 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. But these ones are not. The price on these is a premium. I don't know how it's fully justifiable. Obviously, they did have to do a retooling of the body to get rid of the gangway area, but pretty well everything else is the same. Even the underbody, bogies, lighting is the same. So I just think it is a pretty high price to pay, and these are premium offerings, and I think they're relying on the fact that people will want these for exceptional reasons and hence will pay the money for them. And I guess they want to make as much money back on them as they can. So not good on the value front. So overall, this is an 8.9 out of 10, which is still a very high score for a coach. All aspects of this, apart from the price, are very good. And, that really kind of brings me to my recommendation. Bachmann's DCC controlled lighted coaches are very high quality models that come with a very comprehensive and well executed lighting capability. They do come at a premium price, and this has and will continue to be a barrier for many modelers. The original gangway DBSO stood out as the best value of any of the original DCC control coaches, but the new refurbished and repriced versions are nowhere near as appealing in terms of value, approaching as they do the cost of a good quality DCC ready locomotive. Those who own existing rakes of Bachmann DCC coaches will probably be the main candidates to purchase the new DBSOs, as well as those looking to complement their Class 86s, for example, in building a prototypical train. If you're in these categories, the price, while painful, will be less of an issue for you, and you're unlikely to be disappointed with your purchase. For everyone else, these models do warrant consideration, would probably be too pricey to justify an investment unless you are a major DBSO fan or have a very specific project in mind for which they will fill the gap. So there you have it, the latest DBSO coaches from Bachmann. Keep up the same levels of quality and capability as the previous versions and aligned with the rest of their DCC controlled coaches, but they are expensive and come premium priced. And as such, I think these will only appeal to a limited number of modelers. If you do own these coaches, I would love to get your feedback in the comments, please. So thanks for joining today's review. I hope you found it of use. I am in receipt of one of my Class 55 Deltics, just arrived in the post this morning. I have 2 more that are supposed to be on the way. So I will be reviewing those with the 4 Bachmann Deltics that I have from previous times. So we'll be getting into doing some running sessions and doing an overall comprehensive review and comparison of those over the next 2 weeks. So I expect to see some videos landing on that probably towards the end of next week and into the following week. Thanks for joining today. We'll hopefully see you on the next one. And in the meantime, happy modelling.